Hey, everybody, we're here with the great Derrick Levasseur. Derrick, first off, sad to see you go from the show. Can you talk a little bit about what went wrong at the round table with Boston Rob? It seemed like that you had all the evidence
Yeah,
queued up, and then he got out of it.
he did. He did. He's a great player. That's what legends do. Before we start, we'll make it quick. We got to address the elephant in the room, Rob. We have to do it.
Yes.
Screen grab this. I know we're on a short time. I think
That's
everyone can
great.
read it. Is it backwards or can you guys see it?
I
We
love
can
it.
see it.
I love
Okay,
it.
you
It's
can
great.
invert.
If you're listening to the podcast, yeah, his name
Shout
is
out to
Mike.
Mike
He's a
Bloom.
really good podcaster. He's a respected journalist. So let's at least respect him enough to call him by his name when you're fishing for likes.
Here we go.
Yes.
Okay. To answer your question, I thought I had the information. I thought by presenting it the way I did, including the origin story for how Rob became a traitor, that most people would go, okay, let me process this. Let's come to a logical conclusion here. The things that I didn't anticipate was how Wes would respond. And in fairness to Wes, I don't think he was anticipating them coming at him the way he did. He had a good response for Rob, but not for everybody else. The second thing that I was blinded by was the fact that Carolyn and Danielle were currently in a dispute, and Carolyn voted for Danielle instead of Rob, which she did the next day. So those are variables you can't control. I could see that all the independent thinkers, all the vocal people were going home. And if anything, I should have done it sooner, and by doing it when I did, there were people like Sam and Ivor who had talked about Rob the night before and said they were going to be looking at him, who suddenly changed their vote. And then you had Brittany basically, and I make fun of this because I talked to Brittany off record about it, but I'm like, you were basically his defense attorney that night. So I didn't anticipate that, and I did not realize how much Dylan was in Rob's pocket. I didn't know.
So when the Cage Boys first got into the game, Derek,
Yeah.
you were the one of the three that we did see talk about in confessional how, potentially one of us is, well, I'm looking at one of these two boys. One of them could be the
Yeah.
traitor. So that was early. That was like, y'all just got in the game. When
Yeah.
was the first time you floated his name out after that?
Rob's name.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's first and foremost, to be completely honest with you, Pooya, when I saw them, I I felt like I shouldn't be there. Honestly, I felt like imposter syndrome a little bit because those two guys are legends. This is my second show. I think combined, what have they done? 20, 30 shows? So I was like, I don't deserve to be in here with them. And I was like, that's not a good thing. They might want to get rid of me. But I knew the way they individually told us that we were faithful, there was a reason behind that, right? You start to learn production, and they would have told us together if we were all faithful. So I knew that one of them was a traitor. I didn't know who. It was basically at the Bob the Drag Queen vote. You saw some of it, you didn't see everything, but the way Bob reacted, if you really got to see it in person, he felt really betrayed. And though as convinced as Rob was, there was only one way you could be that certain, and that was by knowing. Even me going after Rob when I did, there was a part of me, Rob, that was like, man, if I'm wrong about this, might as well pack all this up because my career's over. Because they're gonna put this all in there, and Wes is gonna say I'm a traitor. So I was like, this could be bad. But yeah, it was about that time, I think, when everyone started to think it, but nobody was acting on it. And I was hoping someone else would take the initiative, but nobody was.
Derrick, can you talk a little bit about how your relationship was with Danielle? It seemed like, okay, that you have a good relationship from the past,
Yeah.
but, that you mentioned that she had a couple things that were suspicious, but you didn't really vocalize that you thought that she might be a traitor.
Yeah, in fairness to Brittany as well, I think we both kind of knew something was up with Danielle, especially after the riddle competition. She wasn't acting herself. But I've known Danielle for 10 years. We've had a lot of personal conversations. She was one of the first people to congratulate me when I won Big Brother, and I look up to her. So I really trusted her, and I really trusted Brittany. And honestly, if you had told me episode 5, who's the traitor, I would have said Danielle. But when Brittany kind of, in my opinion, went off the rails in 6 and started defending Rob, I said to myself, wow, she got me. Here she is showing her cards at the round table, overtly defending Rob and switching votes. This is her making her move on me. Fair play. So after the round table, you see us get into a little bit of a tiff. She calls me out. She guilt trips me when she got it wrong. And my move there is simply, okay, you're either a traitor or a bad faithful. So I need to turn you against Rob because you're going to continue protecting him. My hope was that I would still be there, but by calling them both out as traitors, my hope was that at the next roundtable, she would go at him instead of defending him because she would have to defend herself. And it worked, but just without me there. So I guess it didn't really work out that well.
Well, in the lead up to that roundtable where you were going to mount the offense against Rob, we did see you start, pitching the name, trying to get some of the votes there. But it seemed like you were a little bit, it was kind of like you were dipping your toes in, but you didn't want to take full control and steer it,
Yeah.
even as far as not telling Brittany, I'm spearheading this operation. What
Yeah.
was it behind that made you hesitant to stamp your name on it?
You guys watched the show. Did you see what happened when Wes did that to Ivor? What happened? What happens?
Yeah.
What happens? You don't know who the other traitors are, first and foremost. Secondly, Rob's a legend. He doesn't need any help. He's one of the greatest of all time. The only thing I had was the element of surprise. The analogy I keep giving is imagine playing chess against someone, and in a regular chess game, they start to see the moves you're making, but you hope it's too late. Well, in Traitors, when you're making chess moves, the minute they figure out what you're doing, all they have to do is hit the red button next to the chessboard and you lose. So I had to do it without him finding out. And so I did talk to people. I tried to make it, their idea. You saw that with Ivor and Sam. I was going to talk to Brittany, but as you saw, that's exactly how it went down. She approached me first. And, you don't have to be a detective to know the tone in which she approached me. She was not on board with it. So what incentive do I have to tell her everything? Because at minimum, she's not going to vote for Rob. But at worst case scenario, she's a traitor and she's going to go tell him. So I did do the best I could. Sam and Ivor seemed like they were already on board with it. But I wanted to have that element of surprise. And if you look at Rob's reaction, he was anticipating some problems, but I don't think he was expecting me to be the one leading it. And that was by design.
So, Derrick, what was your reaction to then seeing how things played out after you were murdered? Because you do go to Dylan and you tell him about, hey, Rob's a traitor, and I think Brittany might be a traitor too. And then Rob tries to weaponize that, but it ultimately doesn't work out. That do you feel any satisfaction that ultimately, like in your sacrifice, that you kind of set Rob up?
I mean, listen, like I said, my design was for them to go at each other and for me to be there. I think ultimately Rob was kind of in a lose-lose situation. If he kept me there, he knew I was going to come after him again. I'd like to think at that point, people would have said, okay, let's do it. But if he murdered me, he exposed himself as the only cage boy remaining, and he was on borrowed time. I think honestly at that round table with me going the way I did and predicting my murder, Lala could have gotten him out. Honestly, I think it was more lopsided than it showed in the show. Honestly, but Tom Sandoval, sign him up for Big Brother, guys. You weren't creeping on him. Mastermind, planned it all along. I will say this: Tom always voted with me, and so I got to give him that. But there's people in there. You got to talk with Gabby. Gabby's one of them. Great television, but her voting's been pretty spot on. There's other people that I had thought in the beginning, like Dylan. I was really hoping Dylan was going to be like a Cody for me. And he got Bob the Drag Queen right. And he was so enamored by Rob after that vote. I didn't realize until watching the show how much he was in Rob's pocket. And I bust his chops all the time now. Me and Rob were talking. He was like, oh, yeah.
Have you seen that video?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And me and Rob were texting, and then we got on the phone, and he's like, yeah, man, had to take you out. And I was like, dude, you had him. And he's like, had him in my pocket, bro. And I was like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. But Dylan's a great guy. That's the best part about it. For most of us, when the game's over, you guys have seen it both ways. It's over. It's over. Danielle was upset about it. No hard feelings. I had more fun on Traitors than I had on Big Brother.
Okay.
See.
Well, it's shorter.
Amazing.
It's shorter.
Yeah.
I got to still speak to my kids, but also I got to be more myself. I was trying, the metric for success for me on this show was not getting to the end. It was being myself. It was being aggressive. It was going after traitors. Rob, Pooya, you guys know this. I'm not known as the most exciting player. I never will be, but I wanted to win the first time. And it's weird because I'm getting more of a positive response this time around for my performance than when I won. But I think that's because ultimately I didn't take into consideration the first time that people want to be entertained. And although it was at my expense, seeing me and Rob go at each other was entertaining. So I'm happy about it. I'm really happy with the way it played out.
All right, Derrick, I know you got to run. Thanks for making some time for us. Anytime you want to talk about these shows, you know where to find us. Okay. All the best outside the Traitors. Okay.
Absolutely. See you
All right,
guys. Enjoy the rest of the season.
Bye.